Welcome to Out and About, a visit to the Steam Workshop on the 22nd of September 2022. And as always, there are lots of very interesting things to see. The weather is not very good, it's raining at the moment, and here's a traction engine outside the workshop, and the interesting thing about this is that it's a 4-inch scale traction engine, but the boiler is exactly the same size as the boiler on my 4.5-inch scale traction engine. I arrived a bit too late to see it running, and here the boiler's been blown down. You can see all the water coming out to add to the water that's already on the ground. To the right of this traction engine is another one on a lifting trolley. But I'm more interested in this one, specifically two items, one being the very cleverly designed seat that fastens onto the back of it, with a special swivelling centre wheel, which allows you to drive the traction engine in reverse. My driving truck is slightly different. It doesn't have a swivelling wheel, and I have to use a locking bar to keep it straight when I go in reverse. And with the design of my driving truck, I cannot reverse around corners, but you can't have everything. It's much more comfortable than this one. The other point of interest with this traction engine is the live steam injector that's fitted to it. This is no ordinary injector. This is a Holroyd injector made by John Holroyd, who works at the Steam Workshop. And if you look closely at the water piping that allows water to go from the bunker tank via the valve into the injector, then you will notice that the pipe goes down into the bunker tank. This injector is self-priming. The injector fitted to my traction engine, which has the same size boiler, is a Jubilee Fittings number 8. This injector is physically bigger than the one on the other traction engine, and it pumps more water, 8 pints a minute. I've always used Jubilee Fittings injectors and never had any problems with them. The water injection system on this engine is a bit problematic, and it's not down to the injector. After speaking to David English and a man at the company, John Rex, and now John Holroyd and a couple of other people, I think that I now know what the problem is. I'm not going to go into detail about it in this episode, but I will be doing in my series A Large Model Showman's Engine in a short while. This is a model steamroller, which was also being given a steam test out in the yard. This one looks a little bit odd to me, particularly the back wheel. I don't know what it is. Is it a model of some full-size item or just a freelance model? In this clip you can see that the fire is burning in the ashpan. This happens occasionally, but it didn't happen to me the other day when my ashpan was completely full of ash. This is a very simple model traction engine, no frills, not very fancy, but it appears to work well. By the time I arrived at the Steam Workshop it was raining quite heavily, so I went inside. And the first thing to greet me was this. It's been a while since I've seen this one. Mark was building it, and it was far from complete the last time I saw it, but it's looking good now. The volume of work output from the Steam Workshop is quite staggering, and a lot of the work is quite difficult to do. Just look at the complexity of the controls in the cab on this Castle-class locomotive. On an adjacent bench was a Great Western Railway King-class locomotive, but it was being worked on, that's why I didn't video it. Although I did video this is a Smart & Brown lathe that was restored recently. I have a Smart & Brown Model 1024 lathe, which is a bit bigger than this one. This restored example is very nice. Quite close to where I filmed this, there was some work in progress. This is a 2-inch scale Burrell traction engine. It's actually a showman's engine like mine. Although this one, like the full size, is a compound, and John's been doing some work on it. That's why the cylinder cover is not in place. This showman's engine is very different to the one I have. It has a crane attachment on the back. I have a small 1.5-inch scale Fowler showman's engine, and that also has a similar attachment for a small crane, like this one does. In case you're confused about this, the small crane jib is not attached currently. Moving on, with my camera handheld, I wandered around the Steam Workshop to look at some of the other things. I don't know what this is, and I'm not going to ask anybody because they're all busy. Here's another engine stripped down for some reason. And when I look at the wheel sets, they really are finely made. Look at the detail on the axle boxes with all the oilways. There are many different levels of model engineering where steam locomotives and traction engines are concerned. And here's something very different. Look at the size of this. This is a 9-inch scale traction engine, and it really is big. It doesn't really do it for me though. Even though it's so big, it still looks like a toy traction engine. I don't get this. This traction engine is made by a company called W. Tasker & Sons. And according to the brass plate on the motion guard, they are made in Andover in the UK. I had a good look round it and all the parts look very well made indeed. This is a really substantial piece of equipment. Just look how robust the drain cock linkages are. From one extreme to the other, this is quite a small engine, but in its own way it's quite nice. It has its own water bowser and it's currently painted in primer. If you want to build a traction engine, one way of doing it is to buy one that's part finished. With this one, at first glance, what's there seems to be quite well made. Here's another traction engine that's definitely finished and looking quite well run. And now for something completely different. This is a Wallace & Stevens Simplicity steamroller, and not only is the name Stevens spelt a bit strangely, the entire engine looks a bit strange to me. For its intended application, the design does make a lot of sense. Railway locomotives can go up and down hills, but all of the hills have a shallow gradient. But for these road locomotives, hills can be a bit of a problem. If you're going down a steep hill, the water level in the boiler changes. And if all the water ends up at the front of the boiler, it could uncover the firebox crown. But with an engine designed like this, where the barrel of the boiler sticks up in the air, you could go down quite a steep hill, and the crown of the firebox would still be covered in water. There are some more oddities with this model. I'll let Mark from the Steam Workshop explain.
Got hand pump inside here. Yeah. All doing is for your injector inside. And gauge glass goes here. That's where your water level matters.
And yes, he's got it dead right. It's a very weird looking thing. And by that I'm not referring to Mark, I mean the traction engine. Mark went on to show me this, a very strange, very basic looking engine. Once again, some more words from Mark.
It's a steam vessel, but it's not a pressure steam vessel. It makes steam come out the chimney and that's it.
This engine's actually powered by a diesel engine, and as Mark's just explained, the only reason it needs to boil water to make steam is so that steam comes out of the chimney, so it looks like a steam engine. That's it from me. After this last clip, I left the Steam Workshop and went to visit my daughter Charlotte with her now 11-week-old baby. 11 weeks already. Time flies. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it interesting. Please take the time to visit my main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.